Hey, what's up guys? This is Oakley, and yes, this is Attila. Your eyes do not fail you. We're going to be playing a 2 versus 2 interesting battle. It's going to be the Sassanids here, and we're going to be fighting against 2 Jute forces. So let's go ahead and pop up, and so we can see what's going on here. Like I said, 2 versus 2. Let's start off with my deployment. What I am bringing to the fight. I am in the front, setting up with 4 of these Armenian slingers. Go ahead and put this on slow motion actually. So basically I wanted to have a big heavy contingent with a lot of armor. That's going to be 4 Armenian slingers backed up by 4 immortal warriors. If we go ahead and zoom in on these guys, what you'll notice first and foremost is the slingers, who are supposed to be skirmishers, have heavy shields. These guys can take a real beating. I love them. Back that up with the mortals, and you have a hardcore force that is not really going to break. And of course that's something you're going to need against a force like the Jutes. Backing up that force is a more maneuverable 2 units of the Sogdian warriors, and then even further in the rear is going to be an armored Indian elephants. You don't see too many of these elephant type units in Attila just because only one faction can really field them. But anyways, I decided to bring them because might as well. And then screening force, I have 2 Persian mounted warriors and then some spear levy. These guys, Persian levy, are very cheap, but they're just meant to intercept enemy cav, and you can see that cav being arrayed in the distance. Again, Avspar and some 3 cataphracts right there. I can actually put this on pause so we can go over the army deployment even quicker, because you can see troops are already starting to get underway. My ally over here went for not too much cavalry, I think, which is perhaps interesting. So he has 4 of these Persian bowmen, again, cheap bows in the front. Then he has immortals and a heavy core of these elite Dialamite warriors, 5 of those in the center. He's shifting over some immortals and a lot of these camel Clibinari. I'll go ahead and get some shots of the Clibinari just because you don't see these guys fielded too often, and I feel like what a goofier sight than a camel wearing armor. Usually you don't think of camels as being fearsome, but in any case, we're going to see that right here. And they have the obviously added benefit that when they fight enemy cav, they're going to destroy them, because the enemy cav suffers from fear of the camels, plus the heavy armor and stats on these guys, backed up by immortals. It's going to be pretty good force. So he's going to move forward to push back these Viking Raider cav. The Jute forces, like I said, have the Viking Raider cav there. They're going to have some Royal huscarls moving forward in the forest. A big group of Nordic spearmasters there, anticipating that we would bring a lot of cavalry. Thankfully, he's facing against my ally, who doesn't have too much cav. If he were faced against me, that would start to cause issues. Then they have some chosen warriors in the back. Viking captain. Over in the center is going to be the other force. A lot of these chosen warriors over here in the woods. It's kind of going to be a stalemate as we stare at each other from across the woods. My guys, my Armenians, are going to start moving forward, backed up by the immortals. So it's going to be, like I said, a big stalemate across this little clearing in the woods between the 2 forces. And then we have, hiding in the back, the huscarls. Those guys will tear stationary infantry and cavalry to pieces. So those are very scary forces that we have to try and prevent. So it's a good thing I have, my heavy armor units right there. That should be able to soak up, a tremendous amount of their assault, bog them down. Then this is going to be perhaps the most scariest force. A lot of these Nordic horse lords. Looks like he's got 4 right there, 3 more, so top that off with 7 of these Nordic horse lords. Gonna go ahead and put it on fast forward by accident. Let's put this on play. Yeah, these guys are gonna start moving around, repositioning, reforming. More of them lining up against my forces, and I think the fact that I had spear levies. You can see my spear levies there in the distance, screening the cavalry. This is something you would have seen, obviously, in real life. The importance of screening cavalry and backing them up. This is almost something out of like an Alexander-type tactic, where he would actually have trained troops to run alongside and reinforce the cavalry as they push the flanks. But yeah, also the Armenian slingers are going to be pushing forward. I want to start trying to land some strikes. You can see they're starting to get within range of those huscarls. Those are ideal troops to start to target. And my Armenian slingers are basically clearing out zones where my opponent cannot get too close with his horse lords. It allows me to inch forward with my Persian mounted warriors. And yep, slowly going to inch them forward with the support of just cheap Persian levies. And you can see these 2 forces, pretty cheap overall. They're forcing back 4 Nordic horse lords, which are very scary units. And of course I have more guys in the rear, but you can see just how much zone of control you're able to just sort of push forward with units like this. Cheap guys in the front. Anyways, I'm going to start targeting his guys as they come out. Chosen warriors. Meanwhile, my ally is going to be pushing on that front. You can see slingers in the front, the rest hidden in the forest. And on the right flank, it's going to remain uncommitted. Let's go ahead and watch some of this. We're going to start to move into position. 1 immortal force here just to try and, hold back the opponent if they decide to engage. A lot of these chosen warriors starting to form up. in the plains in front of us. Again, extending these Persian levies to tie down my wing. And you never really want to put all your cavalry up front in a solid line. That'll get charged when you're not looking. Have some Persian levies and then space out your cav so that if, he charges in with 4 cav, you can sacrifice 1 cav unit who's probably going to die anyways and then get the other ones to hit him on the flank. So that's kind of like a defense in depth, and I have elephants starting to move into position to counteract cavalry that would try and charge through here. Meanwhile, the forces here that are starting to move forward, let's actually get some shots of them as they start to deploy. What you're going to see me doing here is when you have infantry pushing like this, especially in Attila, you want to counter that with some cavalry, because they will bowl over infantry who are, trying to make the crossing whilst under fire. They really want to make progress. They'll be facing my slingers. My slingers are merely going to pull back to immortals, so he's not going anywhere. Meanwhile, I get to threaten with my Persian mounted warriors. It was enough to draw him off, delay him a little bit, and all the amount of time that I'm able to delay, it's going to be helping me out. His cavalry is going to be moving up. I'm going to be moving up some of my own Sassanids cataphracts just to threaten the flank of these chosen warriors. And you can see here, caught right up against my immortals. He has to slow down, take some fire. Elephants are going to be moving into position. And again, the defense in depth is really helping me out here. I decide that I might try and sacrifice some of my Sassanids cataphracts into his huscarls. He's going to prepare for a countercharge, which is deadly to me if he gets some shots into the Sassanids cataphracts. But I am meanwhile distracted over here. A really, really cool move that you should probably learn to do is put these immortals up here, immediately put them in square. What that does is it tightens up your formation. The enemy cannot wrap around. It'll force them that when the enemy engages on you to sort of start wrapping around your guys. Again, they won't get much of an advantage against your square wall, but what it does is it exposes these guys to cav assault. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm going to target both of these guys. Meanwhile, up through the center, you're going to see a little bit of a charge right through these lines. I'm only going to watch a couple seconds of that so you can get a sense of, I'm defending back there. Then I'm bringing Sogdian warriors on the flank. The reason I'm putting that on pause is because I did not want to miss this engagement. And it looks like actually his guys here still haven't thrown their volleys, so I still have a little bit of time to reposition. But let's watch this. Nice charge right on his guys. This is exactly how you want to be cost effective. Now, it's not with the best of cavalry units. I'm not using cataphracts for that engagement. And excellently enough, his chosen warriors did not do any damage really to my Sassanids cataphracts. I'm pulling back. I'm going to try and engage, clip these guys from the rear, continue to charge up along with my mounted warriors and engage with the immortals. And my defense in depth, still warding off those guys. The elephants, like I said, are going to be trying to engage, and exactly this is the moment you're trying to look for in battlefields where you deploy your elephants exactly against huscarls. These guys are undefended, no javelins or anything to toss. I'm going to go ahead and charge right through here and bowl over his most expensive units. Meanwhile, his guys up through the front are starting to engage with my men. The forest is on fire as we start to unleash on these guys, but like I said, my mortals should be able to hold out a pretty long amount of time. They're starting to drop actually relatively quickly. I'm surprised. So yeah, we definitely have to come to the safety of my men, but I do have, Sogdian warriors on the flank. What's happening on the right side is cavalry decide to smash into our lines. Viking Raider Cav, who are pretty good cavalry, very nimble, and they're smashing into elite Dialamite warriors. That's exactly where you want to send Cav like this. Take out the swordsman and not the spearman. So he's knocking out very good units. We're reacting quite late. He might even get through to our archers. But let's go ahead and watch the most important part right here, the elephant massacre, coming in, impending on these huscarls, and they're going to try and charge right into my men. But yeah, this is having, a field day. This is a good day at work for these elephant mahouts. Let's try and get you some nice shots here of huscarls versus elephants. Not too sure that happened very often in history. I mean, I'm sure it happens a lot in Age of Empires, those of you guys who played that title, and relatively often, I guess, although somewhat infrequently in Rome too, in Attila. But yeah, his cav is starting to get, line up to do some damage against me. They did kill one of my elephants, so I'm going to reposition to try and engage. Already killing 221 men with that elephant. My god, they've already paid for themselves. Let's put this on pause. So his cavalry here could not breach the 2 Persian levies. Meanwhile, over here, all my cavalry is being committed onto his, infantry right here, who are pitted against immortals. My immortals are holding out, but I have Armenian slingers to deal damage from the side. You can see, very smart to have Armenian slingers not target this mess where I might do friendly fire, but target exposed huscarls like that. Another Gayan Aspar charge into the huscarls. So I'm doing everything I can to neutralize these elite warriors. And the cavalry are now going to push out here Persian levy to try and screen these guys and try and wrap. You know, they're just here to screen these Sassanids cataphracts to then smash into the rear. Elephants causing a big enough distraction. And over here, cavalry has penetrated through with 4 kills on that one unit. And trying to get kills for the other one. I can't really get it for you, but I don't think they ended up getting a tremendous number of kills. So overall, pretty good. We still have a lot more forces to deal with, but let's go ahead and get back to the action here. Gonna just continue to go after the prime targets with my elephants. Tie down his Nordic horse lords. And there you can see I'm forcing the rest of his cav away, despite him having a huge cav advantage here. It's gonna be up to me to claim. Persian levy are charging after those guys, warding them off. Gonna get a nice sovereign charge against those guys. Elephants continue to stampede, 251 kills going against the huscarls. My general is gonna be brought into the vicinity of the force where the fight is starting to break some of our Sogdian warriors. Again, we're starting to lose forces here, even killing some of my Persian mounted warriors against the immortals, but those guys can hold out long enough for my ally to start sending in the feared armored camels. So we're going to see some of those guys in action, charging into the rear of the huscarls, who otherwise would have chopped their way through my lines. Yeah, that should be a nice way to clean up this force. The huscarls are dropping pretty drastically. Once that evens up, they're going to start to do damage against us, but at least we got, you know, a nice sandwich on them. Oh boy, back to this battle. How do we analyze this? So let's go ahead and demonstrate it a couple ways. First, screening force there to prevent his cav from doing any flanking attack around my back. That's very crucial. Next, I sent out some immortals here and there to tie down the enemy force that was moving forward. I wanted them tied down in 2 locations. My plan of attack was then elephants to smash through here, cataphracts to smash through here, and cataphracts to smash through here. And you can see what that has turned into is basically a lot of damage being dealt here, a lot of damage being dealt here, and then in the back, I'm kind of sicking all of my cataphracts who had initial charges here. Then they kind of continued on from both flanks and charged right through to the middle, where I can then clean up his cav. So that is kind of my battle strategy here if you want to try and make sense of it. And again, I'm denying the use of 2 of his Nordic horse lords who would have loved to be in the back just because of those Persian levies right there. So that is some tactics in action. Let's watch a little bit of the cavalry engagement. These are always fun to watch, especially with these 2 elite type warriors facing off against each other. So yeah, it looks like I'm going to start to maybe lose my men in the center. My Armenian slingers are almost out of ammo, so that's fine. I don't mind if his cavalry comes in. I'm going to reposition one of my Armenian slingers to face this way. I want to make sure I delay those guys. Then I'm sending in Persian levies to reinforce my cav. I really want to keep them alive because you can see I'm starting to lose the center against these Nordic horse lords. Elephants up to 356 kills. Mounted Persian warriors recommitting. And then I'm doing counter charges every which way that I can to try and, you know, take out these Nordic horse lords. Then over here, he sicked some of his Nordic horse lords into my Armenian slingers. That's fine. They've dealt 87 kills already. 60 on that one. I'm just going to retreat out of this position. There's nothing left for me to salvage. Important thing to do is then bring back some immortals who are going to allow me to hold down this front. You know, hold that up. It'll delay basically his push through here. And then what I'm going to do is over here, try and clean this up, commit spears, commit elephants, and just try and, you know, reinforce and tag team his units. That should help me to win that out. Over in the center, we've pretty much committed that. So my tactical thinking is the only threat is going to be to my flank here. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving Armenian slingers and I'm leaving Persian levy in the vicinity just to tie his guys down while we reform. Meanwhile, in the center, my ally has formed up with his Persian bowmen. They're going to be unleashing on these lines, and let's not miss the camel Klibanari. I'm going to put this on pause so we can get a nice shot, and it's going to be our turn to get the initiative here. Looks like these camels, if you look real close, they have some ridiculous looking axes on them, some fierce looking axes on these guys, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to start chopping through these forces pretty effectively. Chosen warriors actually not suffering too much, but I think our guys function kind of like melee cavalry, so they should be doing a fair amount of damage. Against these, I think these are spearmasters. You know, this looks rather frightening, this amount of fire arrows coming at you, but our bowmen are not that great. They're more like cheap troops, so we get a lot of volume, but not much in terms of quantity. So this spear wall is not really going to be shaken. All we're going to be doing is trying to tie these guys down and provide covering fire for the elite Dialemite warriors. Over in this position here, more huscarls, royal huscarls, were in the forest. In the forest where cavalry are not able to get effective strikes against them, they're going to excel. So that is why I've reformed my guys. I'm not committing to those huscarls. I know they can tear us apart. And here my ally is going to suffer dearly for exposing his elite Dialemites to a cavalry charge like this. You really got to be careful, especially in the end game here. Like we saw, my opponent is coming in and chewing into my remaining forces. I'm tying them down with a couple of spearmen in the distance, and I think I've somewhat secured my objective here. I threw in my general. I'm going to be trying to save him with my Aspar, and most importantly, my elephants are going to help kind of provide a threat right here that's going to help secure this flank. And then I'm going to move some forces over here that's going to secure this flank. Between those two solid points, we'll have enough of a front to hold back the enemy force. And then I can, hopefully come back and tie down these Royal Huscarls, who are very, very scary forces. Let's watch a little bit of this charge. Yeah. For charges like this with the Royal Huscarls are extremely, extremely scary. Those forces are very expensive, but they will destroy your guys in a matter of just seconds. We're going to do everything we can to land some strikes. I'm bringing in my Armenian slingers. I have to tie these guys down. I'm going to immediately withdraw my Aspar and just leave Armenian slingers. I mean, they've gotten the number of kills they want, just enough to tie them down and countercharge with my cavalry. So there you go. Elephants are running amok, but 415 kills at this point, doing enough to ward off those Nordic horse lords. My general is still alive, 29 men against 24 Nordic horse lords. I imagine I'll lose this fight, so yeah, and he's going to try and throw some more cavalry into this engagement. This is becoming a very, very messy fight. Back over here, we're starting to crush, outmaneuver, and win this flank. If I were my ally, I would take... Oh no, those Armenian slingers are out of ammo. Yes, he should commit them. And he looks like he's going to swing his cavalry around to the back here. This is exactly where we need the Kev. We are not really going to break through this. Yes, elite my warriors are good, but so are these Nordic Spearmasters. This will be a long, grinding fight, so we really need the added flexibility to get around the flanks and really crush through this. It looks like the enemy troops are wavering here, following that nice Camel Clibinari charge. And yeah, it looks like he's going for the long... surround right there, so we should be able to clean that up. It's only a matter of time. The real danger is, like I said over here, with the huscarls. However, they've been somewhat diminished with my cavalry charges, and like I said, a good tactic is always to form your immortals into the square, absorb the royal huscarls around you, and then wait to charge back in with various other units. My Armenian slingers, again, proving their worth. They can hold up to a Nordic horse charge like that, and then they'll just absorb and distract those men. I decided to countercharge the weaker of the two Royal Huscarls, drawing this one away and then charging in with the rear with my general. Right now, not much left in terms of tactics here. We're just going to commit to this fight. Like you can see here, we destroy this Royal Huscarl. We're just keen on eliminating, one, if at all possible, and then closing in on the second one. So this battle is down to just one man left. My spear levy, Persian levy, is still over there. They somehow won their fight. Still some enemy forces here, and now let's put this on pause. Here comes the nice final moments of this engagement over here. Like I said, we really needed this to work. We're starting to get the wraparound, but in the center, Nordic Spearmasters definitely holding strong. Let's get a little bit of this final decisive blow that's going to crack the back of these forces here. All along the front. And then some Camel Clibinari somehow still alive in this engagement. And yeah, it's against spears. It's not going to be super tremendously effective, but we don't need to be super effective. We're teetering on the edge here, and all we need to do is push this force over the edge into, starting to crack and waver, and you can see that exactly starting to happen. Over on this side, it is coming down to very much the last man. Two of these elite Alamite warriors are going to get charged by Nordic horse lords that may break them, and it's going to be my immortals, 41 of them against 57 huscarls. He has the advantage there. Both of our units are going to start breaking, so it looks like we may actually have lost this side of the battlefield. Yeah, there you go. We lost that battlefield. Over in the rear here, however, we are cleaning house, and now we're starting to get a chain rout amongst the swordmasters. that'll leave us with more than enough troops to deal with whatever's left over here. Nonetheless, I'm going to delay and tie them down with a full spear levy force, 140 men. It looks like the elite element warriors still in here, 40 of them against those 42 huscarls. That should be enough to at least reduce their numbers. And another one is regrouping, so perhaps we haven't lost that side. The fight is brutal here. Archers tying down the left, and now here comes the swarm, the massive numbers. That'll definitely give us a bonus. I want to go ahead and look over here and watch my Persian levy. Gonna do work against these huscarls. One of the very rare times you'll be able to see that. But yeah, my guys have been resting on the side. They're pretty much full strength. They're gonna be fighting depleted huscarls. And yeah, we're gonna be taking a beating. I think oh no, there we go. We killed one of the huscarls. I was gonna say we have yet to kill them, but it looks like, there you go. These guys must feel like bosses. Persian levies breaking the final Royal Huskar unit left on this flank. And they're going to have the luxury of cleaning up some of the remaining forces here. There you go. The glory of the Persian levy at its finest. So there you go. There you have it. That is all that was left of this flank. A bloody, yeah, fight. Don't see too many of the cavalry bodies. I assume they're intermixed amongst the men here. Yeah, but a lot of blood spurts in the center. You can see how this clearing was definitely a death trap. The forest just as well. I mean, holy crap. Let's go ahead and see what happened in the forest. Yeah, all along the line here. Another just massive dead zone. You see some of the kills over there, and the rest of it is going to be a huge concentration all along the line here. I think the numbers are very much in our side. The balance favor says so. Yeah, the enemy man count is 300. We have 1,400. We should be good to go, and the enemy are wavering. They don't have any tricks left up their sleeves. No elephants, no royal huscarls hiding away, no Nordic warlords. No, this should be a pretty clean, well, I say clean with all the blood and bodies, but this should be a pretty straightforward win from here on out. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely love playing some Attila. You don't see too much of it on my channel just because it's hard to get multiplayer battles, and a lot of the time when I'm online, now especially that I work, it's hard to get battles. I can't just sit around and wait for a lobby to happen. Sometimes on the weekend, I'll be a little bit more lucky. But another thing is I just have to admit a lot of the other Total War titles are more entertaining to me to play. But nonetheless, sometimes we'll have little gems like this that I will definitely share with you. Let's go ahead and end the replay and watch some of those stats, see what it looked like in the end. I really wish it told you the total number of kills. Why is that not here? It's pretty stupid. But in any case, yeah, I took the heaviest beating on that front. You can see only 700 men left. My ally is faring much better. I got a fair amount of kills. Elephant by far leading in the kills. Again, Aspar, and then actually Persian Levy getting more kills than the Immortals. So you can see how these guys used effectively can be very powerful. Let's take a look at my ally. Looks like actually, despite sort of some of my trash talking, the Klibonari doing work right there. Holy crap, yeah, Immortals, Elite Elements. Oh, I'm guessing my ally killed more guys than me. I mean, all of his guys are getting healthy amounts of kills, so good job to him. Shades of Games, YouTube, or YT. Decent amount of kills. He definitely had a lot of these Horse Lords. They did well. Royal Huskars did well. So overall, pretty solid. I think it's this guy, yeah, this second force that didn't do too well. But again, it's hard to do poorly with these Royal Huskars. You can see all of them, 332. My God. I think you only have to invest in those guys, prevent them from getting charged, and you are solid. Except for this one. I don't know how you get one kill with the Huskar unit. That must have been the guy that got trampled by elephants first thing off the bat. Anyways, again, like I said, hope you guys enjoyed, and leave your feedback in the description below. I always read that and take your recommendations for what you'd like to see in the future. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace out.